Euphridia, welcome. So, for everyone that's listening today or this week, we have Euphridia on, author of The Last Ray of Hope. So, Euphridia, welcome.
Thank you so much.
How's it going?
Pretty good. It's for me, it's almost the holidays, and I don't have everything done. But I've decided that the holiday will come regardless of what I do. So I've come to I've come to terms with it, and I'm at peace.
Did you get all your Christmas shopping done?
I did the shopping. Nothing's wrapped, but that's okay. They all came in Amazon boxes, so there's still something to open if I don't get the gift wrap on.
We had a postal strike in. I'm Canadian. We had a postal strike and like they lifted it, I guess, last weekend, and we got like all of our Christmas presents, all of our packages like today. So they came in like a wave.
So it was Prime Day. It was Mega Prime Day.
It was,
I actually live by a Amazon warehouse in the US, but it's not one of the big ones striking right now. Um, but I could see it going either way. So at least I got my gifts. Everybody else, I don't know what you're gonna do.
yeah, a lot of our stuff is still stuck at the border because we order stuff up from America, right?
Oh.
So it's still there. So everyone just like all friends and family, we're just gonna give each other pictures of what we got each other, and when they come in, they come
It's
in.
co it's coming. I promise. I swear.
I promise it's coming. But yeah, anyways, so Euphridia, first and foremost, can you tell us about The Last Ray of Hope? Like, tell us what it's about, why people should read it. I loved it. I thought it was awesome, but I just want to hear from your perspective.
So, The Last Ray of Hope is meant to be a satirical comedy of the traditional Isekai. I'm going to be, I like satire, but I like satire when it punches up. So, a lot of people write critical stuff, criticisms about different things. But the second part of it is for satire is to shame things into getting better, right? Because the privilege of writing satire is you take these tropes, you take these things, you don't hate them, you just want to see them get better. And the big privilege about writing a satirical comedy is you can take some of these tropes, you can play them straight, or you can play them in such a way where you can turn them on their side and look at them from a different story. So the reason I chose an isekai is, first of all, I loved them before the term was in the United States. Not to share my true age or anything, but I will say I have anime on Laserdisc.
Oh my god,
And I have a Laserdisc player
that's
and I
awesome.
can watch it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I kind of grew up with both Sailor Moon in the 90s, but I also grew up with like Slayers, not Demon Slayer, Slayers. And it was really those two different anime is something I really needed, you know, the magical girl.
Yep.
But also Slayers has a female protagonist who, like, to me and to my childhood, she was genre defining. She was allowed to not be the perfect main character, and it was okay because she had like these vices and,
hmm
um, don't get in her way sort of thing. So I wanted to take both of those things and create a character who starts off being, something's a little off with her, but she's not exactly overpowered. But as she moves through this story in this isekai, I get to take a look at a lot of different tropes. So it's meant to be a fun romp, but also at the same time talking about some of the tropes I've been seeing lately in different light novels and anime, and
hmm
question the whole idea of like, why are we sending teenagers out to fight a really big bad demon king? Like,
Yeah. yeah.
what's up with that? I mean, why are we doing it? And then but also sort of say, hey, maybe it's not people but systems. Like, the whole setup is just not right, something's funny going on there. So that's really sort of what I wanted to do with the story, and just make it fun all around because I really enjoy character development and character interaction.
hmm
I like plot too, I'm going to be honest. But what I wanted to kind of do is just like explore all these different tropes in a little different way and see how they come out. I also wanted to include a best friend because I always feel like when someone gets isekai, it's like I want somebody to go with them to like either be like the straight man
Like a buddy comedy.
or right, or
Yeah.
the other one who's like, yeah, this ain't right, or
Yeah. Like, what is
you know,
going on here?
yeah, like that sounding board of, okay, this ain't this ain't right. That's not supposed to happen. But then I also wanted the opposite, where the other person's like, oh my God, this is so awesome. So the two main characters kind of feed off of each other and play each other differently.
100%.
Uh, yeah, actually, it was going to be the other friend was going to be the main character in the beginning, and I'm like, no, no, no,
No.
no. She would totally play everything straight and become overpowered. I wanted it to be the other person's point of view. So,
That's so fun. Okay, so your two favorite animes are Slayer and Sailor Moon.
growing up, yeah, yeah. Actually, I'll be honest. I don't think anything recent. There's really good stuff. I like a lot of different stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would still say they have a special place in my heart, and it might be when I came to interact with them. But I will tell you, if somebody turned around and said, "Right now, I'm going to release a new Slayers," I would be like, I'd be on it. I've got the light novels. I've got the business card of the voice actress who plays the main character, and my dream is one day I'm going to see her. I'm going to have her sign the card. I'm going to say thank you very nervously and then run off and puke. Um, I
how
have
did
it all
you
planned out.
how did you get her business card?
I actually bought it on Mercari Japan.
Okay.
Somebody had it. I'm sure it doesn't have her address, so I can't be a full-on otaku stalker. But it is, I think it was actually a promo business card, but it has her picture on the one side and her name and stuff, and on the other side it has her character she's playing and all the information about her. So, I mean, I'm sure it was like a promo they handed out at things, but I've got it, and I've actually spent some time in Japan. Um, I taught English in Japan,
Oh, that's so
and
awesome. How was that? What the heck?
yeah, it was great. I graduated college, and it was during a year where they weren't hiring in the field I went in. It actually crashed out. And so I didn't get a job right out of college, and I said, "Oh, what am I going to do?"
Yeah.
And one of the instructors, I had taken Japanese as an elective, was like, you could go teach for a year. And I'm like,
Ooh. Oh,
no.
you were there
And
for a whole
then
year.
I taught English for a year. I was going to stay longer, but I had to come back for health reasons and a family member. But yeah, I stayed for a year. Craziest thing I've ever done. I had never even been out of like my tri-state area. I didn't tell my dad. I had an interview in New York City. I lied to him and I told him I was just going to see a Broadway show over the weekend. What I
That's
really was
so
doing was
awesome.
interviewing. Yeah, and back then I didn't I had given the company my home phone number to call, not my cell phone
Hmm.
number. And by the time I got back from New York City, my dad was out the door and he goes, "Do you want to tell me why someone from Tokyo just called to offer you a job?"
That's
And
so
I'm like,
awesome, though.
yeah, I guess we should talk about that, shouldn't we? Yeah, it was crazy. And I took it and I went, and it was the best thing I ever did
What city
because
did you live in, or did you get? I guess I don't even know. Stationed in like.
so I lived in Hamamatsu, which is a city, it's in Shizuoka, which is a prefecture that's kind of like it's south in the middle of the main island. Temperatures were very warm, very humid.
Hmm.
I didn't know the earth got that humid in the summer.
Yeah.
Um, and I learned that most people who are native Japanese don't seem to sweat at the same temperature that I do.
So you
And
were
it was
just
very
sweating like.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned that there were a few typhoons while I was there,
Oh boy.
and I learned why you lock up your bicycle, not because it gets stolen, but it can go out to sea in Hamamatsu if you don't
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lost a bike in a typhoon by not
Oh
having it
my good.
properly changed.
Oh my goodness.
So um but yeah, I did that, and that was crazy for me. Like I said, I mean, I'd never even lived on campus in college, and then I go out and spend a year in Japan on my own. And the the biggest thing I'm proud of doing that was I quit my first job. I was working. I loved my students. Let me be fair. I was working for a conversation school, which my youngest student was 3 and my oldest student was over 90. And I was working about 17 hours a day.
Sorry, it was a conversation school.
Yeah, so you paid, I don't know who would do this, but they paid a lot of money to talk to me in English, and I would teach
Oh,
English.
okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it
Understood.
wasn't
Yeah.
like, and I was working like 17 hours a day, and it
Hmm.
just, I'm not that good of a teacher that I can stand there and talk for 17 hours a day to people coming in and out, and I got burnt out. Um, I didn't want to go home, and I ended up getting a job in public school as an ALT, an assistant language teacher, but I
Hmm.
ended up doing it on my own. Um, Interviewing, nobody was helping me because, of course, the school wasn't going to help me find another job, right? And during all of this, I had to find a new apartment because my
Oh
apartment
boy.
was owned by my employer. So I managed to get an apartment in Japan on my own because I couldn't tell anybody I was planning to leave. But I studied enough Japanese to go and find my own apartment.
That's awesome.
Uh, yeah, I mean, now I think they have, a lot more English support in Japan, but at the time, I mean, I walked into this little rental office and nobody there spoke any more Japan or English other than, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Sort of
Yeah.
thing.
That's
Me
awesome.
too.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. What the heck?
Yeah.
Oh my!
Yeah.
So
So,
you were there for a year and you were teaching,
yeah.
and I'm assuming it was like the best experience of your life.
It was yes. First of all, the like I said, the weather very humid in the summer, but it was warmer than where I had come from.
Hmm.
I met a lot of really nice people. Um, I I felt like my health was never ever any better because you walk everywhere. I had a bike until it went out to sea.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, it's gone.
you know, Public transportation, you could just go anywhere. There was a lot of public spaces where you could just go. You could go to the park. You could go. It was just it was wonderful, and I was offered a 3-year contract, but I ended up turning it down. I had to come back because of family
Yeah.
reasons. But the year I was there, I loved it. So now I go back every couple of years once I save up enough money
That's
that I can
fantastic. You go every couple of years. You go.
Yep, I took my little one with me. He's not really little, but he was old enough to enjoy it.
Hmm.
And this last time, and like I see my students who are now English teachers themselves.
Wow.
I can't believe the price of things hasn't gone up over there. It's crazy how cheap some things are.
I'm guessing it's like expensive to go, but once you're there, it's not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like, I, don't laugh at me. This is going to make me sound old and such a mom. But I walked into the grocery store and the giant head of lettuce was like the equivalent of 78 cents, and I'm like, I can't buy lettuce
Oh
anywhere.
no. Oh no, I totally feel that when oh my god, Euphridia. So we went to a wedding in Italy this year. My partner was maid of honor for a wedding and we stayed in a little town. We went grocery
Mhm.
shopping for a week and the grocery bill for the week, like we went to restaurants and stuff, but like all the regular vegetables, meat and everything, it was like 22 euros and I literally didn't believe them. I was like, "Excuse me?" I was like 22 euros and there yeah, nothing.
I don't think you can go through the checkout area without spending the equivalent of that in a grocery store these days.
Yeah.
I was like, I was talking to my husband the other day. I'm like, have you seen how expensive eggs are? And
Oh
then
my
I
goodness,
was like,
so
I was like, oh my God, I sound like my parents.
expensive.
That I was channeling something there, but it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
you're
yeah,
saying in Japan it's still reasonable to like go grocery shopping or get some food or something if you're there.
compared to the US, yes.
Yeah.
Now, in Japan, nobody's wages have gone up in a really long time.
Hmm.
That I know about. So it's not all um
Sunshine and
uh,
rainbows.
you exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's one of the reasons why things can't go up right now is because people literally don't have enough money because no one's gotten any significant raises anywhere. And
Yeah.
the culture's there where you work, and that is where you work.
Yeah, you were saying you're working 17 hours a day there.
Yeah, I'll be honest, the conversation school I was working for no longer exists.
Mm.
So, it was an interesting place, but yeah, I mean, I had classes that were I mean, the math just wouldn't work out. They'd be an hour long, and then they'd want you in the lobby for 15 minutes to talk to students, and then you'd have another hour of class that starts on the hour. And I'm like, I cannot be in two places at once. And of course, because it's a conversation school, they want you to sell the lessons, and they come in and be like, "Oh, this person is joining your class. Try to sell her another 6 months of lessons today." And I'm like, she hasn't even talked to me for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
You might hate me. And
yeah.
they're like, nobody hates you, you're American. And I'm
Oh
like,
my goodness.
hold up.
Hold on.
Wait, whoa. But yeah, they it was a very interesting place where they were like, oh, you speak American English, where, and I was a little worried that they might be like pricing the lessons more just because it was American English versus, British English.
Hmm.
It was a crazy, weird place, but I'll tell you, yeah, 17 hours because I prepped all my lessons too. So
Oh my goodness. So you're working your butt off.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember the janitor one day. The janitor talked me into it, of all places, of all people. He goes, "You're here in Japan. Don't work like Japanese." Because
Yeah, work
he
like
wanted
7 hours
me.
a day.
Yeah, well, he wanted to clean the room, and I guess I was staying too late, and he couldn't go home until I left. And then I'm like, oh, he's right. He's right.
He's totally right. Yeah. That's so a lot of your work is inspired by like the old school, not old school, but like the more traditional style isekais, and you wanted to like poke fun at all the different tropes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm also a big fan of JRPGs. Final Fantasy VI is the best Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
I will, I will, I will, I can't get into the newer ones. I try.
You try the
I
MMO?
miss it. Yes. I've tried that. I've got this problem where I want to be like the hero and
Hmm.
in charge of everybody. And I also have this problem with I want the story locked and loaded. And I'm sorry, six is just the character development. Everybody is individual and unique. And this, if anyone listening, this might be a spoiler, but in the middle of the story, the world gets destroyed.
It's perfect.
It's perfect because then you bring the band back together and then you fight an evil god. And that is just really cool.
That's.
So,
Do you still have time to game? Because I know you're like super busy.
um, so so I buy the game and it sits there
Hmm.
and I write a chapter and I try to get my son to bed and I ignore work the next morning and I find this like little bit of time. Like right now I'm trying to play the Dragon Quest, the HD 2D 3D remake. Oh my God, I said those letters out of order, but the
That's fine.
the, the Dragon Quest 3.
Yep.
I'm like I'm putting in like 20 minutes and I'm like, oh my God, I go to bed. I feel like I just started this 2 seconds ago. I didn't even get to the next place to warp from.
Didn't even do
Um,
anything.
I didn't. The only thing, like, I'm like, they didn't even really level up,
Yeah.
but I'm working through it. So yeah, I have to pick and choose, which is not the worst problem in the world to have. I remember when it was, you know, I, I couldn't afford it. Now I can afford it, but I
Oh
can't
yeah,
play
the
it.
Steam
I need
library
the
is
time.
massive. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
giant, and I have no time to play video games anymore. It's so sad.
So I stopped putting things on my wish list because people were getting them for me and they were just sitting there.
You had people buying you video games like fans, or are you
Like
talking about
family,
family? Okay,
family,
okay. I was
family.
gonna say
I
like
have
what?
them trained like no socks. Just look at the wish list. It's really easy. You can, yeah, family. No, I don't have like random people
Yeah,
buying me
you're like,
games.
yeah, you put in your author's notes. Hey, so I really want the new God of War. It's $75. $75 for anyone?
No, it's the small stuff and like, family members like, for things. They're like, "Oh, why don't we get you some silverware?" I'm like, "What are you gonna do with silverware?" Like, no. Here's just click this link and just hit buy. It's all good.
It was kind of a sad day when I started getting like socks for Christmas, but now I just love it. I'm like, okay, I'm not upset about it because like people try to buy me books, but I'm like, I have all the books. I,
Right.
I have like I got 3 copies of the Three Body Problem last year from like friends, and I was like, I've read the Three Body Problem like 3 times. Like I appreciate it though. Appreciate it. But you just regift it.
Right. Yeah, I asked for gloves.
Okay, there you
Like,
go.
And they're like, I think when we first started getting you gifts, you never wanted gloves. I said, well, it turns out that I get cold now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I really need them.
Yeah. It's so fun. Actually, one thing I do want to ask you about, because I think you do it better than you think you do, is your branding and marketing around the Last Ray of Hope. Like, do you how do you have one such an awesome cover? Did you draw that? Who drew it? How do you have such a good TikTok? How are you so consistent with like marketing? Like, how do you do this?
Um, no, I didn't draw it. The cover. So there is. I found them on Fiverr of all places, and I gotta be honest. Well, there's two things. The chibis are and the emojis. That was the Fiverr
Okay.
person, and their name is Aya, and I can send you the contact information. I think they do a wonderful job. Very consistent, very pleasant to work with. Um, Gives a heads up if something is going to be late way before I even think about it. And honestly, I their deadline is much more stricter than my deadline because I feel like, you know, you're doing this for me, and they don't charge a lot at all.
Really,
Um,
they should be charging more. Is what you're saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't want to take advantage of you. Please take this tip because then
Yep.
I'll feel a little better because I feel like there is a lot of that. The covers is by somebody by the name of they go by the handle of Razu, and I will also give you that information. I saw them, I want to say at the time VGen, but they're on Artistry. So I look at the art before I purchase it, and I I was like, I really want somebody who can do sort of the 90s style poses of
Hmm.
the anime. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I had a lot of poses of anime characters. Some of them are from animation cells I might have that I might have gathered along the way.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Yes, I'm like I like this and old magazines from the 90s and that sort of thing because like I said, I'm really big about characters and character development and what they look like and what they act like because I really like that of the 90s style where like I felt like the anime was a brand. Everybody's eyes had looked a little different. Um, they 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 had personality in their faces. I mean, I'm not saying that's not true anymore, but there was this period where we were going through like cell shading, early cell shading and stuff, and
Mm.
there was a lot of like, looking at those eyes and I'm going, those are those creepy doll eyes from like my, my
Bratz dolls.
aunt's house.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like those. Um, uh, so I have to say that uh, for the Royal Road covers, Razu did a really wonderful job, and I felt like, and then I didn't know what a good price on a book cover was, but
Mhm.
after hearing what some people have spent on them, I'm like, I think I did pretty good.
Oh, they can
So,
get up there.
oh yeah, yeah. So again, I'm like, maybe I should be tipping a little better because I don't want to take advantage of
Yep.
people. Um, the TikToks and stuff, I'll be honest, I am probably too old for the TikToks, but
No. 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 No one is old. I'll be honest with you. I don't have TikTok. So.
well, I'm not sure if our country is going to have it in the next couple of days either. That's going to be interesting to see. But I'll be honest, I use Canva
Mhm.
for a lot of different things. The ads, the sizing of the Royal Road covers, adding backgrounds, and I have this weird obsession with digital glitter because it doesn't make a mess. So you'll see sparkles on my cover
You
or something
love
like that
digital
with the
glitter.
yeah.
You love.
Um, yes, and don't have to clean it up,
Yep.
but it's shiny. And then I had my friend Laura, who's an author. She helped me with the map that appears in the book because I will be honest, I should not ever try to be a cartographer.
Hmm. You're just don't have it.
No,
Don't have it.
no, no. I sent her to the map that I made, and she's like, "Oh, honey, let me
Yeah.
help you."
Let me fix that for you. Give me a couple days.
Yeah, and she set up a call and she's like working on it in Canva because she has Canva too.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, how do you do that? she's also a writer, so I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I was humbled by her creativity and skill. But yeah, I just got really lucky with the people I ended up working with. So
That's fantastic, but still, it's your vision. Like you, one thing I really appreciate about the last Ray of Hope is that there's so much like of a clear vision I found with the characters and like with how people speak, and it's like everyone has such a clear voice. I just really, so it was a lot of fun to read. I think is the best way to put it.
thanks. Yeah, I was going for fun. Um, there's going to be some parts that aren't the funnest of funs.
No, of
But I
course not.
wanted, yeah, but that's really what I wanted to do because there's a lot of things going on in real life right now.
Hmm.
And I wanted to just write something where, it's that romp where like, you know, things are bad, but there's hope and you don't have to be stuck in something that you feel like you have to do it just because that's the way it's done. In real life, even though I said I probably wouldn't talk about it, in real life, I uh, I'm in patient safety. I look at things that are not fun, but we talk a lot about continuous quality improvement.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I wanted to put a little bit of a theme in with the last ray of hope. Like the first time she encounters demons, the first thing they end up doing a debrief. Um,
Yeah.
because when things go wrong and you don't want them to happen again, debrief is a pretty good tool to have. And it's not meant to blame or shame people, but it's meant to sit down, talk about, hey, what could we have done differently so we don't end up in the same boat again.
Let's make a plan
Um,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I end up doing those sometimes in real life, and I just didn't want to write in the same space as what I do as my day job, I should say. But I really do appreciate those tools, and I wish someone had told me about them when I was younger.
Hmm.
So that's why I kind of wanted to like introduce them at different times in the story, is because I don't think we spend enough time telling people how to analyze something when we're young. We figure that out later,
Through
but we
failing a
don't learn.
lot, through falling on your face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, you're gonna fail, but you need to take a look at it so that you just don't do it again," or might do it again, but at least you tried to take a look at it so that you didn't feel like you were just doing crazy.
At least you try to fix things and improve upon.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think it goes hand in hand with your character development, right? Like I found all your characters. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but I found all your characters really strong. I feel like it's where you're, honestly, I feel like it's where you're strongest as a writer. Like your character development and how people progress, and even like, can you tell me a little bit of how you view character development? Maybe with Royal Road, but maybe just writing in general, or even animes.
So a lot of times I see that there's there's this first of all there's pacing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in anime we find it's usually like we have to get that set up. So that's in the first couple of episodes. We get into a normal routine, something happens, there's a change. It's usually adopted, like something, somebody gets a new power, and okay, now we're going to focus on that because this new power is the greatest thing. And then there's a new shark to jump. But really, in real life, yeah, it's not so linear to
No.
me. So the other thing I try to do, and it may come out a little later, is that you think you're progressing, you think you're getting that character arc, you think you're getting that, and then all of a sudden, wham bam, something comes out from the left hand side, and you
Mm-hmm.
find out that um, you're going to have to take a step back of what's going on and reorient yourself, because I don't think that comes up very often. I mean, it does sometimes, but usually only to drive the plot. Um, but I think knowing in real life, like you can do your best and it can still come out crappy, or, um, you know, doing your best, looking at something and anticipating something and being proactive about something and stopping it from before it happens. Those things usually don't show up in the anime because they're not fun, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, you want to see these people clash. Wait, they're not going to clash because this person did something that's lame. Well, okay, but guess what? In real life, if you can prevent that that mid boss from fighting you in the first place.
From destroying the
You
city?
might,
Yeah.
yeah, that might actually be good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That might actually be, and not causing all that collateral damage. Um, but then also the consequences of when you don't stop the collateral damage, what happens to you. So yeah, that I look at progression as being, three-dimensional and a lot of backward failure.
And it kind of
But
goes
not
hand in hand with
in
how you're
time.
playing with the tropes too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You're trying to do something a little bit different.
right. And some of those tropes I really love, and some of them I'm kind of like, ooh, I don't like that. I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna show how you don't need this trope.
Okay, that's interesting. What kind of tropes don't you like in animes, and maybe even any kind of work?
Um, I'll be honest, I get a little upset with mm, the overprotective older male lead and young female lead uh it's obviously a relationship of control.
Okay.
Um, and sometimes it even goes into the extremes of gaslighting. And that cycle of holding power over somebody else simply because, oh, you're, I need to protect you from the world, and but are you really protecting them, or are you just
Keeping them in a
protecting?
cage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So that's one that I'm not really happy with, and
You
it's gonna come out.
you see
It's
it.
gonna,
You see it
yeah.
pop up a lot in isekais, or are you talking about like works on Royal Road in general?
Actually, I'll say more in like the light novels, and all right, I'm going to
Let's hear it.
confess.
Like, come on, you let's.
I read a lot of web comics on Tapas and webtoons, and there's a lot of stuff coming over that's being translated as the contemporary fantasies. And be honest, I read a lot of the ones where there's one female lead and two male leads, and I go, oh my God, why is she choosing between these two? Where's option three?
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, and there's one you're supposed to root for and one you're not supposed to root for. Sometimes you're supposed to root for both of them and you can get divided in the fandom. And I'm going there where I need the option C, or she just needs to like go on vacation and never come back because these guys are nuts.
Yeah. These guys all suck.
Yeah, come on. Like you can do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so you want to see more female lead with like kind of like the reverse what we see a lot of like on webtoon and stuff like that and tapas.
Yeah, and so I'd like to see a middle of the road female MC. Um, Not overly powered, doesn't have to come off as like showing their strength every single encounter they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
While I appreciate that, um, you know, I appreciate a strong female lead, but if they are thrown into that they have to show it every interaction every time, it gets a little disheartening. Like, why is this person even in this situation? She's so strong, but they usually have some way to contrive her within that she can't leave, but yet like she turns around and someone's yelling in her face. I'm like, no.
Like, no, that's not
Okay,
how it works. Yeah.
because then you don't really get to know her as a person, you just see her as shielding herself. But I also didn't want to make I, I mean, in the beginning, I'll be honest, even my female character at the beginning is a little, she's hesitant, she's reluctant.
Mm-hmm.
She has reasons um, that she's, not voicing, but she's reluctant, and that's okay as long as someone moves on from that as things progress and gets a better picture of what's going on. So I don't like the doormat lead. And I don't like the super overpowered lead. I like the middle of the road where that person can be a person too and doesn't just have to be a superhero 24/7 or somebody in like stressful situations or traumatic situations 24/7 because you don't get to know the real them. You get to know whatever their emergency response is.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of writers just I totally agree with you, but when we're talking about the like constant horrors and constant action, I feel like a lot of writers just feel like they have to have constant struggles within their stories. They don't have room for breathing. But I agree with
Right.
you on all the other stuff. I'm like, yeah, there needs to be more middle of the road leads,
And
male and female, whatever. Um, we're seeing just more normal people, not normal people, but you know what I mean.
right. And that totally has a genre of like that action, those cliffhangers. It makes sense. I just didn't want to go there with
Yeah.
this because I'm like, I want somebody who can turn around and have a funny moment with someone and have that feel like the same person as who's about to fight somebody in a duel. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, I just want that to be the same person, not that they have to turn off, their personality in order to make it through. Um, because I feel like the um, the hero is a person too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna cut this part out, Euphridia, but like with the book that I'm working on right now, I wanted to make it so over the top where like the character literally turns off his personality as like a he he like
Yeah.
he has this skill where he literally turns off his personality, and nobody has picked up on yet that it's like a kind of a joke. Like it is a joke, but we'll see if eventually if some readers notice that I'm like poking fun at like the super overpowered character type. But okay, back to the last ray of hope. So okay, what is like what's your schedule look like when you're writing? I know that you don't post daily, but you post I think 3 times a week or something like that. Um,
So,
yeah, how does that look
y-
like?
well, I recently went down to 2 times a week. Uh, I needed because there's some things going on with book one right now, and I've going back with that and working on it. I needed some extra time. So I got to be honest, I don't actually know how many words I write an hour. I don't check that.
That's
I
fine.
don't do sprints. I have no idea. So what I typically do is I have the messiest Google document you would ever see. So if it ever got stolen, nobody would understand it because I barely understand it myself.
Yeah.
But it had a list. It's got bullet points on it, which are basically beats. And for a chapter, I'm like, okay, I typically have 3 to 4 beats, things I want to address in them. And so what I end up doing is having first, I look at my beats. Um, I I I get up, I go to the gym if I'm going to the gym. I'm
Hmm.
not always doing that, but I think about it for a little while, shower thoughts, how I see the characters interacting for each beat. Um, and then when I get a chance, I try to do it either on a lunch break or after my son's in bed, is write a chapter. So I write by chapter, and like I said, 3 to 4 beats at a time, whenever I can. December's been really hard,
I feel like
so I
that's for
haven't.
everybody. Everyone's just hanging on.
And my day job usually calms down, and this year it has not. There's a lot of stuff going on in healthcare in the United States right now.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Couple of things.
Um,
Couple.
yep. So things, um, I've been working on some projects a little longer than my normal core business hours. Um, but I usually try to sit down and get those 3 to 4 beats in. And I do everything. I write the chapter, I go back and read it through, I do edits, I think about it for a little while before I end up posting it on Patreon. So I've got about, it's a little low for me. I think I've only got about 22 chapters ahead
On
right now.
Patreon?
Yeah, I usually try to have more than that because I'm a contingency planner.
That's great.
Um,
That's great.
uh, yeah, I'm trying to wrap up book three right now, and I keep adding stuff.
That's yeah, but
I'm
that's
like,
that's fun, right? You're fleshing out the third book.
yeah, because I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this like a volume from now. I'm like, I got to put this in now because the other thing I really like about books are if you read them a second time and you find little Easter eggs that if you had seen it the first time, it totally foreshadows something, but you don't realize it the first time you're reading through.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying that. Trying it. I don't know if it's going to work out, but yeah. So I'm sitting here going, I need this to be here, so when I talk about it in another book, I can go back. I told you guys about it. I just didn't make it a big deal. Ha ha ha.
Haha, you didn't even see me edit that chapter. Haha.
Yeah.
So what's the plan for Last Ray of Hope? How many books do you think you're going to go for?
Um, I was hoping to keep it to 4, but I think I'm going to need it to go to 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do have an ending. I started with the beginning, and then I came up with the ending, and now I'm filling in the parts in the middle because that's how you do an improvement project. By the way, is where do you start, where do you want to go, and the third question is how do you get there. Um, so
That's
yeah,
something you
I think
told me when we first started talking, Euphridia. You're like, you need to figure out your plan. I was like, okay, you're right. You're right. I do.
you figure out the plan. You don't always have to follow the plan. The plan is just a plan, but you want to start with one, if nothing else, to, cover yourself when you have to show, like when somebody comes by and goes, "What was your plan?" I'm like, "Oh, I had one."
Oh, I just made it up as
To
I went along. Like I had no plan whatsoever. Like nothing.
right. You just see evidence. It's just, things change, right?
Yeah.
That's how you talk both sides of the coin. Um, yeah, so I think it's going to end up being 5. I think I told everybody 4, but I've got covers for 5.
Oh, there we go. So I'm sure the readers
Yeah,
are going to be happy with that, though.
yeah. So, yeah, I think um, there's some things that are going to happen, and I don't think I can cram them all in one book. Looking back on how long it took me just to get Ray to the holy city, I don't think I
Yeah.
could do there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The pace is going to pick up, but yeah, it took her a little while to get there. Um,
But I'm sure
that's
people
okay.
appreciate that like slower pace in the later book, or book 3.
Yeah, book 3 is a lot of political intrigue. If I was to religious political
Mm-hmm.
intrigue, because you know, so a lot of that is just spent trying to figure out what the heck's been going on in the last 7 years in the holy capital of this place to let things get the way it did. Um, so after that, then things will start to make sense when they're out of there and seeing the real world again, so to speak.
I,
So
I mean, I'm happy to hear that it's going for 5 books. I hear some authors where they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do 12 books for my first series." I'm like, "That's a you're going to write 1.5 million words for your first series?" Like, oh my
mm,
goodness. Do you have other projects planned, or are you only focused on Last Ray of Hope right now?
I I do have 2 or 3 ideas where I've written a few chapters of something. I'm definitely going to do something after that. I I also play a lot of D&D.
Nice.
With one group. I say it's a lot, but really what it is is, I've got my core group, and I'm not going to say I'm a min-maxer or anything like that. I'm more into the story and the fact that I get to see my friends
Yep.
because we've spread out over the years. Um, so I am toying with the idea of a tabletop lit RPG from an NPC perspective where a
Oh,
player gets pulled in. Yeah, I think pairing 2 of those up would be a fun little romp because I'm sorry, if a system started talking to me, I'd be a little weirded out.
you'd be
And
panicking.
I see, yeah, and I think it'd make a good satire, because not to pick on the genre, when you see somebody and they get into a new world and the system starts talking to them and they're all like all right into it and they're full go ahead, yeah, this is great. And I'm like thinking, oh, voices talking in my head. I
Where's the
don't know.
body horror? Where's the existential
I'm
crisis?
like, holy moly, what is this thing in my head? Yeah, yeah. But again, I would, it'd be meant to be in the same idea of a comedy satire. But I'm toying with it yet.
Yeah.
So a lot of world building needing to be done, and you know, do I go D&D or do I go with one of those resource games where that might be fun too? Looking at those resource games where you play with your friends and you just you know
Are you talking about like Deep Rock Galactic or something? What do you mean by resource games?
like Settlers of
Oh
Catan, that sort of
yeah, that'd be
thing.
so
Yeah,
fun. Oh my goodness, you're right.
yeah. Looking at some of those things, but there's a lot. There's a lot to think about. So I mean, D&D is always going to be like the first thing I'm going to jump to, just because that's what we get together for. But
Mhm.
one of the things we do is find small little games to play until all of us get there on time. So we play the small games with the small groups so they don't feel like we've left them out. And some of those might be fun too.
What kind of small game you're talking about, like Jaipur and stuff like that, or I'm a big board game person.
Yeah, even ones with like zombie dice, like something that you can play in like 20 or 30 minutes, a lot of indie stuff.
Yep.
There's one, I can't wait to give it to my friends. Modern Problems Require Fantasy Solutions.
I've never heard of
It
that.
was a
Sounds
Kickstarter. It
yeah.
just came out as Kickstarter. It just looked funny. I'll send you a link then. But yeah, but just the title, like Modern Day Problems
That sounds
Require
so
Fantasy.
fun.
Yeah, just something fun too. Like, but that we play that before, because we don't always get together on time.
My favorite board game is Carcassonne. I love Carcassonne. You ever play Carcassonne?
I haven't played it. I've heard of it.
Oh, it is so fun, but they trademarked the word meeple, like a board game
Oh
piece.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is like, why? I love you guys so much. Like, why would you do that? And now everybody has to go back and edit their user manuals. I'm like, why would you do that? That's. But I've always wanted to like read a Carcassonne like. I don't even know. It would not be able to. Well, I guess it could be a lit RPG, but so you want to stick in the satire genre. You want to stick fun. You like fun romps, fun characters, fun development. You don't want to go anything like super serious and like dark and gritty.
I don't think I could. I mean, people would be like, "Hey, that's the same one who wrote that Ray of Hope," and I can't believe, only because I feel like in real life there's so much real stuff going on. I like the idea of reading something that's a diversion. I don't know that I could go full cozy. I've thought about that too, but
Mm-hmm.
and then I've heard that there's cozy murder mysteries
Oh,
and
excuse
stuff
me. There's
too. So
cozy murder mysteries.
somebody was telling me there's cozy murder mysteries. I don't know. I haven't.
Oh,
I I guess maybe because the murder happens off camera. I don't know. But I've heard that they exist, and usually it's an amateur detective solving it in like a small community or something, or
that sounds
maybe
fun.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how murder is cozy. I'm guessing maybe it's a historical murder. Maybe it happened like so long ago nobody really knows who was murdered. I
Yeah.
have no idea. But um, yeah, somebody was telling me that exists, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do full cozy, but if murders are also cozy,
There you
maybe I
go.
could.
Like a detective. Like a detective. I've been waiting for historical fiction lit RPG or historical fiction isekai. Um, something in that vein. I mean, do you think that the genre is developing, or do you think it's like kind of going backwards right now? What's your take?
On my take. Oh, so I feel like it's getting bigger. It's going mainstream, but I also see so many other people looking to do it in a slightly different way. So
Hmm.
I feel like it's expanding. I feel like you can get away with things a little more easier, especially on Royal Road. I think you can introduce, like like I said, there's cozy.
There's
You
cozy
could
murder
do it.
mysteries. I mean, I'll be
There's
honest. I think you pushed the genre in a new direction as like satire isekai. Like I was like, oh, this is so interesting. I didn't read any satire of the genre yet.
Oh my God. So I'm a thief and a stealer, okay? Because there is someone from the second century called Lucian of Samosata, um, satirist. He's probably written the oldest that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's older, and I'm sure people will come up with even older. It's the first one I was ever aware of. He basically wrote the first satirical isekai called
Okay,
A True Story. So he's basically making fun of the works of Homer and these epics where, everything is so unbelievable, where they go to these mythical worlds and they fight these mythical things. And A True Story starts out with him basically saying, everything I write in this book is a lie. So he's
that's
satirizing Homer.
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely, now I don't, I will say some of the satire is lost on me on some of the things that he comes up with in there, but you can see that he's satirizing the
Yeah.
idea that, I mean, these people basically go off and end up on the moon because they're bored. Not because there's this big thing they have to fight, but they all get together and get a ship because they're just bored and they just want to see what's out there.
That's so
Which is
funny.
like a satire of like, oh, this thing happened and I have to go fight all these monsters everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, so I like that you think I'm genre defining, but I'm totally a thief because I read this and I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I sort of
Well,
get what
yeah.
this guy. Yeah, but again, things come around, and I think I think for lit RPG, I do think it's expanding, and I do think people are bringing new things to it, which I think is a great thing. Um, and some people might be upset that it's going mainstream in certain pieces, but I think that just helps other authors get noticed, especially if they are writing something that's a little different, because I think different is good.
Absolutely. And one thing I did want to ask you about too is publishing. So, are you planning on publishing Last Ray of Hope? Are you What's the process look like if you're exploring that? Like, what's going on there?
So I am signed with a publisher. Am I allowed to say who?
That's up to you. That's up to
Okay.
yeah. That's kind of a leading question, Euphridia.
Okay. Let me
Yeah.
start again. Oh yeah. So I did sign with publisher. I signed with Riverfolk Publishing. Um, the first book is in line editing as we speak, which means I have to do some editing when it comes back. I think I'll learn that. Um, but the plan is actually there's going to be an audiobook. Tess,
Fantastic.
yeah, Tess Irondale is going to narrate.
No way. That's awesome.
She has her public Discord server. It's called Read My Lips. She will be narrating it. I believe I'm on the schedule for February. So I'm going to listen in because I'm excited. But book one, audiobook and Kindle version will be on Amazon. I think it'll be April, at the end of April. I don't have the exact date yet, but it's actually up for pre-order. I just need to get the book cover up and stuff like that. But there is a link. A link exists. Um, but yeah, so yes, it is going to be published, and somebody else is going to publish it. So somebody
Fantastic.
who knows what they're
Congratulations. That's
doing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Does it feel
Um,
weird?
it feels incredibly weird
Yeah.
because
Like, oh, I
I had
can't.
not planned that at all. I had no. I went into this just writing something to distract myself.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, no, I'm going to be a published author. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
So,
fantastic.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
So it's up for pre-order now. When is the book release?
Also in April. I think they're going to release on the same day,
Oh, okay,
actually.
fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. So, I believe both versions will be available on the same day in April. I'm going to say the 30th. Is that a is that a normal day for release?
I'm not sure. I'm done.
I, I,
I just started following the whole like publishing cycle thing. So, I mean, I'm
yeah,
excited for you. So,
thank you. Yeah, I think it is the 30th because that is a Wednesday,
there
and I
you
think
go.
they're Wednesdays. Yeah.
There you go.
So,
That's fantastic. So, what are you going to do? You're going to do one book and then the next book every like 2 months or something like that, or as quick as it can come, or
I think I, I don't know. The second one is written, but it's got to go through developmental edits. So I am going to do what the publisher asks me to do. They have been wonderful, by the way. They've put up with me because I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before, but yeah, I'm not sure it's every 2 months. I don't know. It might come out a little slower than that, but definitely I will keep a certain pace, and I will also finish the series
yeah,
to make sure that they can all get published. Um, but yeah, I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna. I know that I'm allowed to turn in the second manuscript anytime. Just getting it on the books and doing the process. So
that's awesome. I'm super happy for you. That's
thanks.
I love seeing authors get published and have their books available on Amazon. So like that's or even not on Amazon on like maybe a new website that everybody needs to so Amazon doesn't take what is it 70% of your earnings or something like that. Ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's like oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope someday that going wide really means going wide. So
Yeah. Yeah. We're
yeah.
gonna release on this random. It's like okay, well, there needs to be more places for people to be able to publish their stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, we're just approaching an hour. Euphridia, do you want to shout anything out? Anybody, anyone, any website, any game, anything?
Um, I'm really thankful to my Patreons who keep me in line and support me.
Enable.
Um, and my fellow authors who have listened to me, both about my challenges and my triumphs. And for those who are out there writing and struggling, there is a great book by Chuck Wendig called Gentle Writing Advice. I listen to the audiobook. I put that on when I have imposter syndrome. And you could pretty much pick any chapter out of it and just listen. And it's quirky, but it's also really good advice to not get inside your own head and worry about everything you do. I tend to do that a lot.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
For some reason, hey, I feel the older I get, the less I know, and that's probably a good thing. But when the imposter syndrome strikes, it's a little rough. And the only other advice, I wrote a chapter to myself in the last Ray of Hope. It's called,
nice.
Yeah, it's a secret chapter for me. It's called, I mean, there's plot in it too, but the title is Imposters Don't Get Imposter Syndrome. So it's actually a screenshot on my phone when I start getting really, inside my own head. And I say, I wrote that. It says imposters don't get an imposter syndrome, and they don't, because they don't feel like they shouldn't be there. They've already usurped something, right? So it just can't happen. So imposter syndrome needs to stop. That's what I tell myself.
Oh my goodness, the amount of imposter syndrome I see in the Discords is wild.
Yeah, well, and then people compare just numbers, and then you can see why it happens too.
Like, I totally understand why that. I had that. I have that. I like constantly. It's bad.
I can't compare numbers, and I tell myself it's because, well, I'm a little different.
Yeah.
I'm a little different.
There you go. Exactly. That's a great way to look at it, actually. But do you have anything else you wanted to shout out, or? You said it was Gentle writing the book?
Gentle Writing Advice. Chuck Wendig. Okay. Yeah. He's written a lot. I think he wrote some Star Wars books too.
Oh, very cool.
But yeah. So, I put my trust in him and his advice, which is basically advice is advice. It's not a rule. And he talks about looking at the rules the other way. So when I go ahead and use an ly adverb, it's okay.
You're totally fine.
It's totally fine.
It's totally fine. Euphridia, I thought you were going to shout out Slayers and Sailor Moon.
Oh my god, yes. Oh, okay.
I'm like,
all right. I was going to shout out Slayers, the 90s anime. If you really want to, there are the light novels. Jay Neville has translated them into a wonderful edition for the English. I do have the Tokyo Pop version. Please, if you want to laugh, you can look at the comparison between the two, but really the Jay Neville version is great. Sailor Moon, I'm sorry, the 90s versions of the anime will still be my favorite. I have seen the Crystal version, but I'm going to have to say there's more personality in the 90s anime. But lovely, lovely art in both of them. I have not watched the last movie in the new Sailor Moon series. I'm waiting to do that with a watch party because, again, the voice of Lena, who is the main character of Slayers, is also playing the bad guy in that Sailor Moon movie, and I need dedicated time with other fans to watch it. I can't watch it myself. We need to have live commentary. Oh yes.
Oh, yes. You should do a live stream where you watch it.
Oh my god, that would be full otaku for me, and maybe I will. I'll think about it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. Everybody, that was fantastic. So I'm going to stop the recording now, Euphridia.